The court has framed charges as we speak against 9 of the 11 accused. This, remember, is as the Delhi High Court gives its judgment on a police plea against the discharge of 11 people, including the JNU student Sharjeel Imam in connection to the 2019 violence at the Jamia Millia University. This is charges that have been framed against 9 of the 11 accused, including Imam, Tanha and Zargar, under various offences, including rioting, unlawful assembly and several other offences. More context here, this was expected that the Delhi High Court would today pronounce its judgment on a Delhi police plea against the discharge of 11 people. Let's go over to my colleague Ananya Bhatnagar for more context. Ananya, over to you.
Well, this is a very, very important judgment that is coming from the Delhi High Court when it comes to the 2019 Jamia violence case. Very, very important people were there in this case. Remember how Sharjeel Imam, Safura Zargar and others who were said to be a part of this unlawful assembly, were said to be the main conspirators of the whole Delhi riots and the Jamia violence, are the people who are under contention in this case. And now the court has made certain very, very crucial observations. In fact, has also, split the accused into 3 groups while it was pronouncing a judgment. The first group against whom the court has framed all charges, the second group who has been partially charged, and the third group against whom the court has not framed any charges and is discharged. Now, Sharjeel Imam and Safura Zargar and others have been charged under the sections of rioting, unlawful assembly and other offences of the Indian Penal Code. In fact, the court has also given out certain very, very crucial observations while it was pronouncing its judgment, clearly saying, and I'll read down that particular portion of this order that has been pronounced by the court, is that protests cannot be allowed to disturb other people and damage public property. There was a conscious choice to remain a part of this violent mob. Prima facie, the respondents were in the first line pushing the barricades. They were also raising slogans of Delhi Police Murdabad. They consciously were a part of this unlawful assembly, is what the court has said, while has actually upheld certain charges of rioting and unlawful assembly against Mr. Sharjeel Imam, Safura Zargar and certain other people in this particular case. Toya.
Okay, can you just wait with us, Ananya? Let me just give our audiences some context. The FIR in this case was lodged against after violence broke out near Jamia Millia Islamia University. This was on December 13, 2019. You had 700 to 800 people that were protesting at that point against the CAA, the Citizenship Amendment Act. The police had indicted 12 people, including Imam, under various sections of the IPC, as Ananya was just telling us, and the Prevention of Damage to Public Property Act. Ananya, what happens now?
Well, now the court will have, now the certain charges have been framed against these particular people. The court would now be calling them upon the trial. The matter would go back to the trial court, and the trial court would now, in fact, start to, ask them as to whether they want to claim a trial in this case or not. And then the court would proceed on with the particular trial in this particular case. They can actually plead guilty into this particular case. However, this seems very, very unlikely. Another, remedy that is available before these accused who have actually been charged by the Delhi High Court. Remember that the trial court had not charged anybody, had discharged all of the accused person except one in this particular case. But now, since the High Court has framed certain charges against these accused persons, they can now actually challenge this particular order before a higher court. So would they be challenging this particular order, or would they be facing the trial in this particular case? That is a matter of time. We'll get to know. Giving a background of this case, on December 13, 2019, there was a protest that was going on at the Jamia Millia Islamia University, which turned violent. These were the protests against the against the Citizenship Amendment Act that was brought in by the central government. And opposing that, act that was brought in by the central government, there were protests across the national capital. Specifically, it started on with the Jamia Millia Islamia University. Later on, these protesters started to march to the parliament. They set on fire certain buses, and various public property was damaged, and hence, as a result of all of this case was actually registered.
Ananya, just walk us, please, through the arguments that we've watched Sharjeel Imam's lawyer make over the last few days, please. What have they argued?
Well, they have clearly argued that the trial court was actually right in its order wherein it has discharged Mr. Imam and other people in this particular case. They also went on to say that Imam was just a protester and there has to be a distinction between a protester and a writer, and Sharjeel Imam and others, including Safura Zargar, were just protesting against the Citizenship Amendment Act. The protesting is a right, and the court has now dealt with all of these arguments very, very carefully and said that though protest is something that is a part of free speech and that is allowed, but then if a protest is causing a hurt to other people, if a protest is disturbing peace and harmony in the country, and there is a damage that is being caused to the public property, then it is something that...
Can I just understand from you, Ananya, did we see Imam's lawyers address those points? For example, when this point was raised that they were defined as rioters because of the manner in which their protest was carried out, what did we see Imam's lawyers argue then?
Well, Imam's lawyers had argued that there is no particular evidence to show that they were actively a part of this rioting that has taken place in the Jamia Millia Islam, in and around the Jamia Millia Islamia University. They also argued that they were not a part and parcel to the burning down of these buses. While the prosecution contended and opposed these arguments, clearly saying that there is clear evidence they were seen pronouncing slogans and also breaking the barricades in this particular case. And now the court has reached a conclusion that these respondents were actually were in the first line and were actually a part and parcel to destroying these barricades, which were the first line of defense that the Delhi police had taken. And in fact, handful of policemen were being overpowered by these protesters, is what the court has noted in its particular order.
Okay.